Light is meant to illuminate a room and not to darken. You cannot put on a candle, then you push it under the bed. You won't achieve your objective. So those small things you are doing to save humanity, put them together and tell your story. I was able to go out there to start asking for books, to use my profession as a librarian to start up a library at Mwembeshe Remand Prison.
Nice.
So Zikas University came on board. They are donating books that can make the whole library. And my role now will be to use my expertise to set up a library for the inmates. So I'm working hand in hand with one of the correctional officers there. You shouldn't lie to yourself that the moment I get this scholarship, I'll come back and everyone will be chasing after me. We live in a very competitive world.
Yes.
So even after being given this opportunity, you still have to come, toil and push, because no one will come to knock on your door to say, we hear there's a Chevening scholar here, we hear there's this. You need to showcase. So meaning we still come back to telling the story about yourself. Networking is about utilizing your networks, not only for your own good, but for the greater good.
Hello, welcome to Money and People podcast, the show that connects the dots between financial success and the power of human capital. Today, we talk all things scholarships, and to help us understand this subject, we have on our show Mr. Robson Maamba. Robson, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Henry.
Okay. Just to get everything started and for the knowledge of our viewers, could you share a bit about your background?
Thank you so much, and welcome to your viewers. My background is something that I laugh about oftentimes. To make it clear, I'm not shy to tell people that I'm a compound boy, or what would say somebody from the Combon. So I was born and bred from Chawama compound, just within Lusaka. And as people may be aware, back then, before you could go to school, you would be told to put your hand around the head. If it covers your ear, that's when you would go to grade 1. I think I missed out on 3 consecutive years. So for me
You
not
couldn't touch the other side.
No, I couldn't touch the other side. Every time I tried, my hand would. So my father then said, no, my child will get old without going to school. So the only school that was available for me was Chinika Primary School in the industrial areas along Mumbwa Road. So as an 8-year-old, I would walk from Chawama to Chinika from grade 1 until grade 5. Until when my parents relocated to Lusaka West. Then I went to Lusaka West Primary School, where I did grades 6 and 7. From there, I was fortunate to be selected at Kafiwe Boys Secondary School, where I did my junior secondary grades 8 and 9. Again, favor was on me. I landed myself at Hillcrest in grade 10. Now, coming from a very humble background, with my father not being on any income, all of you would agree that if somebody has told you I repeated school, they would either have repeated grade 7 or grade 9 after failing. Funny enough, on my part, I had to repeat grade 10 simply because my parents didn't have money to pay for me when I made it to Hillcrest. I just went for term 1, and term 2, they couldn't raise money. So I had to wait the whole year and joined my juniors when they were coming, when my colleagues were getting into grade 11, to do grade 11 again, grade 10, until I finished. From there, I went to I studied from the University of Zambia, where I did Bachelor of Library and Information Science and Public Administration. Then fast forward, I was an employee. I worked for Rusango University as a librarian for nearly 9 years before I left to pursue my further studies in the UK. The story that we'll talk about in length, how I found myself in the UK, despite me being a compound boy, or with the common phrase that mwana wa mkomboni in our local language. When I returned, I joined government, had a short stint with the Zambia Institute of Ziade, where the famous Ziade, where lawyers sweat. I had a short stint as a librarian there for 1 year, 8 months, and now I'm with the National Assembly of Zambia. I work as a researcher there.
Okay, so you moved from lawyers, law enforcers, law defenders to lawmakers.
Um, yes, so I moved from those that aspire to be defending accused persons to go and work with those that make laws. I think you are right if you
Yeah,
put it that way.
yeah. No, that's a fascinating journey moving from Chawama to UK. Is there a town in the UK which is similar to Chawama? Chawton. So from Chawama to Chawton.
So, transitioning from Chawama to the UK, yes, there are compounds in the UK, but I don't think we can compare them with any, especially like Chawama is a real ghetto where you have no mentors, no role models. In my case, my mother has never been on any salary. She's never been a worker, in short. And my father only got to have a salary when I was in grade 8, when he started working as a farm laborer somewhere. So growing up in such an environment and finding yourself in the UK, sometimes I'll give you an example. In 2018, prior to going to the UK, I was fortunate to be awarded the Mandela Washington Fellowship, which is a flagship program for the Young African Leaders Initiative. I was on a plane from OR Tambo to Atlanta, Georgia. The flight took 16 hours, 20 minutes non-stop. During the entire 16 hours, 20 minutes, I couldn't sleep, and I couldn't believe what was happening. When we arrived in Atlanta, Georgia, I was still in shock, disbelief. I tried to slap myself to say, is it really me? Until when we got on our second flight, which was our final destination, Washington, D.C., went to the university where I was to do my fellowship from, ushered in the room. I locked myself in the room. For the next 1 hour, I was crying because I didn't know what had just befallen me. What I was seeing is something that I would only watch it on TV, but it was me in the forefront experiencing that. So sometimes I like to celebrate my wins. And those that don't understand where I'm coming from would think that he overdoes it. I would celebrate even the smallest win. I'll give you an example. Somebody who's driving a Toyota, the smallest Toyota is what? The Vitz. If you see me pause in front of my car, when others are pausing in the Prado, maybe Mazda BT50, then you see me pause in front of a Vitz. If you don't understand where I come from, you may think this guy is not normal. But to me, a Vitz might be the biggest thing that has happened to me, having come from a background where my father never even owned a wheelbarrow, for instance. And in a family of 7, I'm a third born. I was the first one to do this, to get to grade 12, to get to the University of Zambia, and now to jump on a plane. So people would say, why do you do that? But I cannot explain to everyone why I do that. I just want to celebrate the small wins and to appreciate God's favor in my life.
That's a really inspiring story. I think that journey was I mean, that's a very, very difficult journey to accomplish. Sometimes we would take for granted, but to move to that place of not having an income, but to still fight because very few people would make it out of that. What kept you going?
Um, so you see, sometimes I don't understand what really kept me going. But I'm one person who believes in turning, if somebody gives you a lemon, instead of looking at it as a bitter fruit or sour fruit when you expected an orange, I believe in squeezing that lemon and make a lemonade.
Nice.
So when I was accepted to go to grade 8, one of my uncles, so we had a bereavement shortly before I could go to school. I lost my young brother. So I had 2 uncles. I like telling this story. I had 2 uncles. One from the affluent end, a chartered accountant, and another uncle, he was a caretaker of a showroom where they used to sell cars. So you see, when you are coming from, I've just talked about celebrating your small wins. My uncle, who worked in a showroom for cars, staying among people who were not working, it was an achievement to him. And he started looking down upon everyone. So when they came to the funeral for my young brother, he just told me, why aren't you in school? Knowing quite well we have a funeral, then he tells you, why aren't you in school? I looked at him. I had nothing to say because I was grieving. Then he just said, he said it in Nyanja because he could hardly speak English. The man was from nowhere. He was just what we would call, for lack of a better term, he was a general worker. Then he tells me, tinakuuzani mwe that could be kwemwenda mu life. Meaning, we told you there's nowhere you are going. And if you ever make it to grade 12, you should cut my finger. See, I was a young, just a grade 8. He tells me, you should cut my finger if you ever go to grade 12. So that on its own, to me, became a turning point. So I was telling myself that if ever I'm to prove to my uncle that I'm somebody, I need to go up to grade 12. And at that point, because I was a young guy, young mind, I just said, I need to cut his finger. And that every time I went to school, I would sit studying for one mission.
Cutting someone's finger.
To cut someone's finger. Now, his target was only grade 12 for me. After grade 12, I was at the University of Zambia. I was there. I would visit him. We somehow reconciled. You know, they say blood is thicker than water. We somehow reconciled. He would invite me. I would go to. But every time I looked at him, I said, I have a point to prove to him. Sadly, my uncle didn't see me wear a university gown. He died 5 days after my graduation. At the time I was graduating, there was a big party hosted for me in Chawama. I didn't know people were preparing. When I was at Unza waiting for my graduation, there was a Rosa bus, people from the neighborhood. I was taken back to where it all started. My uncle had lost all his strength. He couldn't even come to see me in a gown. So from there, then I said, sometimes God hardens people's hearts to torment you so that they can make you wake up from your slumber.
That's true.
So the scoffing and mocking from my uncle has forever been my springboard to death.
That's really deep. That's really deep. And it's
Yeah.
sad that we lost him, but sounds like it really had a very huge impact on you.
Yeah.
No, that's a fantastic story to hear. And getting to the scholarship, how did you, what inspired you? What inspired you to apply for it, and how did you learn about it?
Okay. Thank you so much. So I've learned one thing about we Zambians. I don't want to remove myself from the picture because I'm equally a Zambian. Um, Zambians, we want to be local champions at all times. What do I mean we want to be local champions? We tend not to want to share opportunities with one another because you would want every time when you're speaking to people, it's only you talking about the UK, talking about Sydney in Australia. Hey, I went to this place. So I graduated from the University of Zambia in 2010. From 2010, I did not know of any scholarship that would have taken me out of the country. And in Africa, Zambia to be specific, when you become a graduate in a family where you are the first generation, you are the first one to go that far, it means you need to assume the role of a breadwinner, regardless of your age. So I happened to have fallen in the same bracket. So the moment I started working, like almost 1 year, 8 months after my graduation, I started working in January of 2012. Before I could even enjoy my salary, I had to pay for my sibling for my first salary that I got. There was this that I used to hear, your first salary should go to your
To your
parents or what.
parents, yeah.
To the contrary, mine went to pay for my young brother's university fee. That meant I couldn't push myself for my master's. So now I have a passion to work for the community. Having come from the background where I saw poverty firsthand, and I've seen women becoming mothers at a tender age, including my two sisters. One became a mother at 14, the other one at 15. And I witnessed firsthand suffering of my two sisters raising their young ones.
Yeah.
So that in itself developed in me the desire to want to give back to the community, specifically to help women that suffer gender-based violence. That included those that found themselves in being teenage mothers and what. So I started working in the community in Monze. I started giving back to the community. I would provide literacy, financial literacy, trying to empower, especially those single mothers, teenage mothers. So then one of my colleagues whispered to me to say, actually, what you are doing can take you places. This is how the idea of the Mandela Washington Fellowship was born in me. So I asked him to share a few tips and the insights of that fellowship.
Who is
So,
this person?
so this person is, um, His name is Paul Shalala.
The ZNBC.
He's no longer with
Oh, no, he's
ZNBC
moved
now.
on.
He's now with Minister of Defense.
Yeah.
He's my childhood friend from church. So apparently, he's also a beneficiary. He's also a Mandela Washington Fellow. So he went in 2016. So when he returned, we had this conversation in 2017. But because he's close to me, he couldn't give me like the full information. He just said, I know you are sharp. You go and look out for information.
Figure it out.
Figure it out. So quickly, fast forward, because the applications open in August, I quickly pushed in an application without doing research. Lo and behold, the next thing I saw was a 2017 cohort flying out at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. To me, the application that I had pushed in wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
At that point, I almost gave up. Then the same Paul whispered to me, said, no, you can't give up. You are doing great things in the community. Look at me. Just from reporting, I was able to be recognized. You are empowering people in Monze. You are going in villages. Give it one last chance. Yeah, because the Mandela Washington Fellowship apparently is age restricted.
Yes.
So you can only be considered between the ages of 21 and 35. So now, what came to my mind at that point, I said, for me to have been rejected, it means I didn't do a good job. So now I started looking at the requirements. And when I applied for the 2018 cohort, I was among the 25 young Zambians that were awarded. So now, whilst we are in the US, because when you go there, you go to different institutes.
Yeah.
So my fellow Zambians, the other 24, were in other states and what. I was privileged that I went to Howard University, which is right in Washington, D.C. So I was there. I would even laugh at my friends that you are claiming that you are in the US. Meantime, you're in the villages of the US.
In the bundles.
Yeah, in the bundles of the US, stuff like that. So now, I realized that among the 25 of us, we had a PhD holder from Zambia. And most of them, we had two colleagues. There's a close friend of mine, Catherine Sakara. She had done the Australian award. Then there was another guy, William Manjmera. He had studied from Hungary. Then there was John Zimba, who later became my close friend in empowering the community. We became more like-minded. So John Zimba said, up to now, you still have a first degree. Look at everyone. You have a challenge. It will be difficult for us to be mingling with you because we consider you to have a shallow mind. I went. So John Zimba happened to be a Chevening scholar. So the Mandela Washington Fellowship was his second award. So now that's how, you see, the guys provoked me. They provoked my reasoning. And I'm one person who's so inquisitive about trying out things. So when I came back in September of 2018, the Chevening scholarship window was open. I couldn't go back to John to tell him I want to apply. On my mind, I was like, let me show him that I'm not shallow-minded.
Let me do it. Let me teach him a lesson.
Let me teach him a lesson. I allowed a single snake to beat me twice. I made the same mistake that I had done when I made my first attempt for the Mandela Washington Fellowship. Without reading on what they wanted, I applied. Sometime in February of 2019, They were inviting people for interviews for the Chevening. I wasn't invited, and I received a regret letter.
And they're very prompt on those. I've seen them online quite a bit.
And there's nothing that is painful. If it is in these days language, I say it's so painful.
It's so painful.
It's so painful to be rejected, because at that point, and you know, the nature of man is that we don't publicize failure. We only want to rush to our Instagram, our Facebook, LinkedIn when we score a positive.
Is that why Man United fans are quiet?
I think so. So you see, at that point, I told myself, but how can I repeat the same mistake? I should have learned. Okay, I won't cry over spilled milk. Since now I have a new cycle or circle of friends, everyone has started from Japan, Australia, Hungary, German, UK, the US. I also need, now let me put mind to it. So that's how I started now preparing for the next application window to open. This time I did justice. And when I was invited for the interviews, I said, this one now is like I've been given a penalty without a goalkeeper. I can even close my eyes and kick the ball right in the net. That's how I was invited for the interview. Waited like 2 months afterwards, and I received the final confirmation that I was among the awardees. So that's what, somehow, it is me being found in a place of people who don't settle for less. Remember, I'm coming from a compound where just a degree to me was enough. I had a job, I managed to get a car, I managed to buy maybe 5 by 10 piece of land. To me had arrived. And being taken out of Lusaka to Monze, the kind of friends I was surrounded myself with looked at me as a hero already, having gone to the US. But the moment I got there, I saw that I was still very far. So that's what prompted me and awoken me from slumber.
So it's actually very powerful, the people that you spend time with. You can spend time with people who tell you grade 9 is enough, and that's okay, grade 12 or degree. But you sort of, from what I'm getting, you were spending time with other scholars, people who were, ahead of advanced of you in terms of success and all, and that brings you up also. That helps bring you up. So that's very important.
Yes.
Yeah. And in terms of eligibility, since now you were bitten by snakes and so on, what are the key requirements?
Okay. So maybe before I even talk about the requirement, it will be important for people to understand what is Chevening scholarship. Maybe we pick it from there. So this is a flagship program, a fully funded scholarship by the UK government. The Commonwealth Development, FCDO, Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office of the British government. So this scholarship, who are they looking for? They are looking for passionate individuals from eligible countries to pursue a 1-year master's program in the UK. So this is a leadership program. So the moment I mention leadership, somebody would come back to say, what do they mean by leadership? Do they only need leaders to go for this scholarship? By and large, when they talk about leadership, it's about works. It's about making decisive decisions when you are in a place where they seem to be no way out.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they want somebody who will be a leader at some point or who has a potential of being a leader. That is the first thing. Specific requirements. You must have a bachelor's degree in any field.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, you must have a minimum of 2 years work experience. So by work experience, it could be voluntary, internship, or indeed a full-time paid up job. So by 2 years, if somebody is working for 8 hours per day, 40 hours in a week, we are talking of 2,800 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the most needed qualification.
Okay.
First degree, minimum of 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
The good news is most scholarships are kept by age,
Mm-hmm.
right? They will tell you you must be 31 at the time of applying. The good news when you want to go for Chevening scholarship, there's no age limit.
Mm.
I remember during my time in the UK, in our cohort, we had a 67-year-old
Mm.
retired teacher from Cameroon.
Mm.
She was given that award. So I talked of works. It's more about works. So what works
Mm-hmm.
define leadership? Let me give an example. I come from Munari constituency. So let's say somewhere in Kaunda Square, there's a leaking sewer pipe.
Yeah.
And the affluent from the sewer goes into people's neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
and causing a menace. There's this stench. There's a threat that there will be a disease outbreak. So then that sewer is affecting me. So is everyone in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Then I decide to say, I mobilize people. I call this one, come. Guys, this is about us. Let's work on this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then people come and we work out that thing. Maybe we mobilize, we donate money. My action has defined leadership. Because remember, there's no leadership without influence.
Yes.
So being able to influence people, you can influence people in both negative and positive way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You can influence people to go and riot, and they riot. It's still leadership,
Leadership.
but you've taken it. But now to be considered for Chevening, you must be a positive change maker. So what are the requirements? I've talked of the eligibility criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we're to get to the application process, you're supposed to write 4 essays. Each essay is 500 words. It's between a minimum of 100. So the first essay is leadership. You need to demonstrate where you have exemplified leadership in your community. By community, I mean whether in your neighborhood, at church, at work,
Mm-hmm.
where have you done something that has changed the narrative? So before I proceed to go to the next essay, let me say something about writing about yourself. So for you to be able to win any scholarship of any sort, whether a fellowship, a scholarship, you need to know how to tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem that we have, especially Zambians. When we find ourselves out there, we meet East Africans, Kenyans to be specific. Then we meet West Africans, Senegalese. They'll tell us we are reserved. And I'll give you an example. If somebody, every time they post what they do on Facebook, There are two categories of people. There are those that get inspired by what you post.
Mm-hmm.
You become maybe their role models. Others would say, this one, I would want them to be my mentor, because whatever they post about what they do, they inspire me.
Mm-hmm.
That is the audience that all of us must concentrate on as we post, in trying to speak something about ourselves.
Yep.
Because you sell yourself, you are the product. Remember, the funder, the British government, is spending, in my case, when I went to the UK, my tuition fee alone was £22,000.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of money. Some of us, even when we retire, don't think our pension will be that much. Now, if they are to spend that money on you, one, they don't know you. You are not their citizen, and this is their taxpayers' money.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to be a unique brand for them to do it. But they don't know you. The only way they will know you is if you are able to tell your story. So if you tell your story, you post what you do on social media. Those ones that say Avanabo, it's not your audience. Forget about the Avanabo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those who try like to pull you down, the
Yeah. Yeah.
PhDs. You know, you should be intentional, because you are making yourself a brand. So you need to tell a story about yourself in 500 ways, in 500 words, where you have been a leader. I remember in my case, I gave two examples of where I was a leader. The first one, I was in my charity work in Monze. I found a blind woman in Pemba. She was tied to some ropes.
Mm.
Because the children couldn't take care of her, they got fed up. So they put ropes from the small hut to the toilet, and the other one to the mango tree. So that old woman would use those ropes to go and answer the call of nature.
Mm.
And when she's hungry, she would use the same ropes to go to the mango tree. So when we arrived, I found her trying to locate mangoes. Now she was blind. I've never seen such a scene that has touched my life as that one. So what I did, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just found myself filming her. So she was there, she tried, and when she picks the mangoes, she would throw them in the dress.
Mm.
Here she tied the chitenge. So you know the juice that come from mangoes,
Mm-hmm.
it had burnt her chest.
Ish.
So I still remember the date. That was on 23rd December 2019. If you went to my Facebook page, you search for that, you find that video. So I posted it there, and from the people started coming in my inbox. It attracted a lot of attention. So that's one story that I used to say. For me, on myself, I never had resources, but I wanted to use my social media platform to attract attention.
Yeah.
That got the attention of the member of parliament. It was Mrs. Mutintamazoka then.
Mm.
Then the women's lobby came in. I think we raised, people started sending money to me. We raised close to, should be about 60,000. And that woman became my project. So I wasn't at work where I worked as a librarian. I was in middle management. I wouldn't say it's leadership from work.
Yeah.
It was leadership from my
From the
community.
community.
So that was one example that I used. The second one, there was a colleague that was diagnosed with cancer. And I think we needed about 35,000. So we were in a WhatsApp group where there were a lot of people. So I said, guys, why are we looking for help from outside?
Mm-hmm.
If all of us here can contribute 100 kwacha each, we'll
Can
meet
get
this
somewhere.
amount.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we managed to get the needed amount. That's how that guy was. So I used those as two examples. And I started it from WhatsApp. I posted it on my Facebook. So what am I trying to say in short? There's a lot of negative use of social media, but the same social media can be used to attain your dreams. And when I was doing those things, little did I know that one day I will have to use them as a show of leadership. So that's the first essay. Second one is networking. So by networking, it's not only, I know of people, you go to an event, they'll be busy grabbing cards. You can have 200 cards in your wallet today. If those cards are not helping you,
that's the point,
to impart not only you. So networking, if every time it's you, if Henry, every time it's me coming to you because I know you are in a better place, every time I come to you, I'm asking for 100 kwacha. I get the 100 kwacha. Yes, I'm using my networking by benefiting, but what am I giving back? So networking is about mutual benefit. Let me give an example. I live in an area where there's power cuts every day, not because of load management, but there's a transformer which is 40. Then I have a friend, my high school friend, who's working for Zesco. I go to that friend because I'm networked to him.
Yep.
Then I tell him, man, we are suffering here. He mobilizes his people. He comes to my area. They work on that transformer. We have power. Firstly, I've benefited as an initiator,
Yes.
as the one who's connected to that person. Secondly, I've helped the community. So when they tell you to write,
Third, you've also uplifted the other person because he raised it at work. So they're like,
yes,
good job.
yes. So networking is about utilizing your networks, not only for your own good, but for the greater good. Remember, Chevening is looking for change makers, positive change makers. So that's the second one. Then the third one, they'll tell you to write in 500 words why you'd want to study in the UK. I mean, yesterday there was graduation at UNZA. We saw people getting PhDs, masters. We saw people getting first degrees. So why should you go to the UK?
Why the UK when you already have these facilities?
Yes. So they'll tell you, you need to justify. By the way, why these international organizations sponsor Zambians to go to their countries? They are not just being generous. They are doing so to create cultural ambassadors. So for you to demonstrate that you can be a good cultural ambassador, you must show understanding, firstly, of their country. So in this essay, why do you want to study? For instance, why did I want to study in the UK? I had to go and do a research. The first thing that a funder wants to hear is you to praise them. I know here when you talk of praise singing, you think of political cadres singing for the master so that they are given. But even the funder wants to be more like a big brother. So the first thing they would want to hear, as they'll be reading your essays, they want you to hear you are praising them for something. So in this case, you want to go and study in the UK. For a fact, British universities are highly prestigious. The more reason they appear among the top 100 universities in the world. So they would want you to mention that. The UK has prestigious universities. Now, yes, they've got prestigious universities. How now do they help you? So they'll give you a chance to select 3 universities. Choice number 1, choice number 2, choice number 3. And you need to choose a similar program. So in that essay, you need also to justify. For each university, you give a reason. this university, I've heard there's this professor. I would want to sit at the table because I know once I grasp this, when I come back home. So remember, you're coming back home.
To apply.
You need to apply. So by applying, you are transferring the culture, the British culture into, so that maybe in the near future, you become somebody, a big bwana. It will be a safe landing ground for the British through you. So that's a more reason why they are happy to spend millions of pounds on you. They are creating those cultural ambassadors.
So it's also an investment in
So
them.
yes, so that's why it's part of their foreign policy. So their foreign policy is about, so in short, it's soft power. Tell me, will there be a point where I can insult the British after what they've done to me?
How? Where do you start from?
Yes, this is somebody from a compound, remember, whose uncle told him you will not go anywhere. Then you find yourself, I think the university that I attended should be 16th ranked in the UK. I went to University of York in the city of York. So now, to me, every time I'll have a soft spot. So should peradventure I rise to the position of power, if the UK wants to invest in Zambia,
They know.
it's a soft spot to pass through me. So because of that, they won't be happy to invest in you if they cannot see that in yourself.
So that's how you need to visualize it, to say,
Yes.
they were investing in me now so that
We are coming from talking about networking. Networking is not only you being helped, it's a mutual benefit.
So you're now creating a platform for when you will come and help them in future.
Yes.
So they need, so yes, soft spot, a soft landing spot.
Yes, it's a soft landing spot. Because you see, we live in a global village. The earth is now, the planet is as small as a tennis ball. And remember the Agenda 2035. By 2035, Africa will be the most populous continent. Yes. Because the median age in Africa is about 19, thereabout. So now, for the West, the Western countries, the Far East, the country that would have invested more in people in these African countries will continue benefiting. Zambia is sitting on copper, is sitting on gold. So if those people are not in good books, how do they come? So first they need to, that's why those scholarships sometimes they come through the government. Yes. So that's the whole, so if you thought of anything, if you can't do that in your application, you will not be given the scholarship. Okay. So you need to show that you know their culture, you are happy. That's why if you went to countries like Russia, China, the first thing they will do is to teach you their language. To
learn the language, yes.
Before they can teach you. Then the last essay, they now tell you to write on your career plan. They want you in 500 words. In 500 words, they want you to tell them where you see yourself 10 years after you come back. Remember, this is a leadership program. So they will be happy to hear you say, for instance, me, I did public policy. They would be happy to hear, in 10 years' time, God willing, I want to open a big think tank on a policy that will collaborate with the UK to help Zambia shape the policy. So now, when you're writing this essay, you need to use SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. I returned from the UK in 2021. Up to now, I'm not yet there where I said I want to be. So you shouldn't lie to yourself that the moment I get this scholarship, I'll come back and everyone will be chasing after me. We live in a very competitive world.
Yes, we do.
So even after being given this opportunity, you still have to come, toil, and push, because no one will come to knock on your door to say, we hear there's a Chevening scholar here, we hear there's this. You need to showcase. So meaning we still come back to telling the story about yourself. So you always need to be in front, telling people about yourself. Then remember their SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, which countries pledged in 2015 to be attained. There are 17 in total to be attained by 2030. So most scholarships, they would want you to align your program of study in line with the SDGs, number one. Number two, every country, there's what it does. So the British government, under the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, they've got those programs they are doing in Zambia. So as you choose your program, you need to align them in line with what the British government is doing. Why? There are very few British people in Zambia. Now, if you understand what they are doing, when you come back, you'll be an alumni. You can collaborate with them to implement their programs. So that's another niche. So understand, it could be Japan you're applying to, it could be the US. Understand what they are doing.
So you need to know their vision.
Yes, you need to know their vision.
Position yourself to now
yes,
come
so when you are projecting your career plan, you need to break it down into three: short term, medium term, and long term. So the short term, mostly you're coming back to what you were doing. Then now you start growing. Remember, we said Chevening is a leadership program. So it's more about you becoming a leader. It could be a leader, you become your own boss. It could be a leader, maybe even vie for public office. Actually, they'll be happy if they hear, I want to become a president. Because they know when you become a president, then it's a British president in Zambia.
You scored. So the bigger the goals, the better.
Yes, the bigger the goals, but they must be realistic. And just on the goals, may I say this to the viewers? We should dream big. If your dreams cannot scare you, they are not big enough to prosper you.
That's true.
What do I mean? How do you dream of buying a Toyota Vitz? Because if you're dreaming of a Toyota Vitz, if you fail to buy a Vitz, you end up buying a bicycle or a bike. So you are better off dreaming about a cheaper, so a very big one, so that when it fails, you still land somewhere, you'll be okay.
For the viewers, the Chipaso is the Hilux. The Hilux, right?
Yeah, that's so I hear. I just hear, but I know that is a H-Paso is a Hilux. So that's it about the scholarship.
I think that's very insightful. I never understood it.
Yeah.
I never understood it. I thought, yeah, maybe a community project here and there, but there seems to be more to it. And it's also interesting to understand their perspective of what they want to see you become and how that, that positions them as well for ease of entry into a country. So you moved to the UK for your studies, and this must have been a big shift. What was the culture change like?
So you see, the serious cultural shift for me was how the British people live. So first things first, I've never kept a pet in my life. Say a cat, a dog. It's just not in me. So the first thing that I witnessed when I was in the UK is that almost everyone has a dog. Talk of all the Chihuahuas, the Frisians, and everyone moves with a dog. And they stay with those dogs in their homes. When it's winter, they even buy warm clothing for the. To me, that was something that I took time to get to understand. Then in Zambia, we greet almost everyone.
Yes.
Even the people that you don't know, yeah, you just look at, yeah, hi, hi. Now there, mostly as students, you live in shared apartments. So because I went as a mature student, I didn't want to stay on campus. I needed some peace because our colleagues there, by the ages of 17, 18, they're already doing masters. So you'd find for me who went in my late 30s, I was going there. I was owed to most of my classmates. They had zero professional experience, for instance. So I needed to stay away from campus. So I stayed in a 4-bedroomed house where you only pay for your bed space, your bedroom. Then you share the lounge, you share the kitchen, you share the bathroom. Now, you would stay in the same house with 4 people. For 2 weeks, you don't talk to each other. You meet in the kitchen. This one is cooking their own food. I'm cooking my own Zambian food. You're not talking. I tried. The moment you hear a knock on your door, somebody needs help. And you'd be happy to say, I think now I have colleagues. The moment they leave, the moment you give them what they want, you're on your own.
Done.
It's done. So that, it took me time. Then, when buying anything here, we always move with the bigger the stash, the better. Our colleagues are almost in a paperless. They are paperless economy. Money moves in your phone. You swipe even to buy groundnuts on the street. You find somebody with a POS. So I had to transition to being used to money to just be working moneyless. Then now, coming to academics, this is something that I laugh about until now. A professor here, if somebody is a professor, is a doctor, they want you to mention doctor.
The title.
Others even take offense if you say you didn't know somebody graduated with a PhD in something, then you call him Mr. What? They even tell you, I'm not Mr., I'm doctor. Now, the first thing that greeted me in the UK, when the first day I went to class, I was told, I am John. The other one told me I'm Mary. The other one told me I'm Barbara. And these are renowned professors. And we were addressing them by their first names. Then, back home, I would see lecturers in front in class telling you, if you pass my course, then you're a guy. I can even greet you. You can't get an A. Our friends there, they'll plead for you to pass. If you say, I feel like I've studied too much, my head is spinning, they'll bring a priest from the Church of England because they are chaplains on campus.
Yeah.
A priest will be taking you around the lawn on campus just to help you recorrect yourself. They'll ask you afterwards, how are you feeling now? You say, I think I'm still not okay. They'll tell you, you have got a break of 2 weeks from studies. Just go and sleep. Because our counterparts, when a student fails, the blame also falls on the lecturer.
The lecturer, yeah. Because that's what I was even about to ask. Do scholars ever fail? Every time we hear someone's gone on a scholarship, they all come back, they've passed.
No, we struggled here in Zambia, for instance, to get a credit. Yeah, because majority of us graduated with credits. But when we went to the UK, we shined. I managed to get a distinction.
Wow.
Which I don't think I would have gotten it here.
You can't. So it's
And the other myth, here masters is 2 years, there a masters is 1 year. And I used to hear during my undergrad, the lecturer says, those that study from the UK are half-baked because their master's is 1 year. That is a serious misconception, because that 1 year is tailor-made in such a way that you get transformed. From there, there's no one who comes back unless you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
Then I forgot to mention one important thing.
Please.
What does the scholarship come with?
Mm-hmm.
It's also important for the viewers to. So, it's a fully funded scholarship. They'll pay for your tuition fees. Then every month you receive a stipend which you use to pay your rentals, to buy your food. That stipend is, I think this time is almost £1,600 per month. The time I
And
was,
how expensive are things in the UK? Because 1,600 in kwacha is 1,000 pounds is what, 36,000 kwacha?
yes.
So that's about almost 50, 60,000. But
So the most expensive thing for a student is accommodation. In my case, when I went to the UK, our stipend used to be about £1,100. My accommodation was £435. And that was like a very small room. I chose the smallest room because to me, I didn't go there for leisure. I went there to study. Then the other good part is that as a scholar, your visa permits you to work 20 hours in a week. So depending on the kind of work that you do, you can make extra pounds.
Okay.
And if you can balance that with your art, then they will get you a return air ticket, economy air ticket. Don't worry about economy. Whether you're in business class, you're in first class, economy, the plane will it will reach and you spend the same hours as those in the first class.
It's only that the wine is different.
It's okay. Some of us don't even enjoy the wine. So that's what the scholarship comes. So then during the year there, you have extracurricular activities that are paid up for. For instance, you've got the welcome reception where you leave your different universities. You all gather in London. Then when you are done, you also go for the farewell. They give you transport and some money for incidentals. Then there are other organized or scheduled activities, and on your own, you can explore the UK. I'm happy to tell you guys that I've been to all the corners of the United Kingdom. During the 1 year, they say, oh, work without rest made John a dull boy. You can't just be in class.
Definitely.
And for you to become a complete cultural ambassador, you must sample their country. You must sample their activities. So it's something that you don't want to miss. So applications are opening in August. Be on a lookout. And the application process is done online. So you can just go on chevening.org/Zambia.
Okay. And we will share the link in our share the link on our page as well for ease of that. And so, you went through the process. The interviews must have been intense.
Okay. So the interview part, apparently, is one of the most flexible interviews. I think even the interview that we are having here is tense as compared to the Chevening interview. Because ideally they want to put the name to the essays.
Yes.
So, and where humans are, sometimes somebody can choose to write essays for you. Are you able to say what you wrote? Because when you go there, all the questions they ask you, they are based on those 4 essays. The same, they will ask you to tell them about your leadership skills, your networking, why you want to study in the UK, and your career plan. So everything. So you find at most there are 4 people on the panel. You just be discussing. If you went on YouTube, just do Chevening interview. You will see dummy interviews there. So the most difficult part is for you to get shortlisted. Because when you apply, your essays go to the UK.
Yes.
Where they have consultants who are readers. They are the ones that score you. Then they'll send back. So maybe let me even take this opportunity to tell people out there, the listeners, there's no one who was born a Chevener, number one. And the system is very transparent. You don't need to know anyone at the British High Commission for you to get the scholarship. When I was given this scholarship, I was from Monze. The first time I entered the British High Commission was when I was going for the interview. I didn't know anyone who was interviewing me. And you don't need to be rich. You don't need to have a big job. All you need to have is to be passionate about what you do. And you must be a change maker. That's all you need.
That's fantastic. And how has this, what have the two done for you? I know we really zeroed in on the Chevening, but there was also the Mandela Fellowship. But what sort of doors have these things opened for you?
To be honest with you, these 2 awards have been a game changer in my life. If I can be specific with my first award that I got, the Mandela Washington Fellowship, I think it's a reason why I'm here today. I can even speak about this. Mandela Washington Fellowship developed my mind to start thinking big. From there, I became very courageous to the point where today I'm not scared to knock at any door to present whatever case I have. That's a sort of thing that came from the Mandela Washington Fellowship. And that program provides an opportunity where there are follow-on programs as you come back. I've applied for grants, opportunities to develop my community. The biggest was a 25,000 US dollar grant to implement an anti-gender-based violence campaign, specifically in Monze. West of Monze, there's Chief Chongo.
Yes.
That project empowered 2,000 direct beneficiaries and more than 5,000. So we gathered survivors of GBV, trained them in animal husbandry, trained them in good practices in agriculture, trained them in financial literacy. We trained them in other skills to be self-reliant. Because what we discovered in our work, especially in trying to help people out of abusive marriages, for instance, you find that the abuser or the perpetrator of violence is the sole provider. So even when you tell a woman, you leave this abusive home, how are they going to live? They are not empowered. So as we looked at empowering the survivors. So that project, we bought goats and divided women in groups of 10. Each group was given 5 goats, 4 females and 1 male. So every time a goat has a small one, it becomes a permanent goat for one of the women.
Okay.
Then we also empowered them. All that was sponsored by the US Department of State. I did another project on literacy. Remember I mentioned John, the one who introduced John Zimba. We did a literacy program in 2 districts because he's from Chipata in Chipangari. We were training mothers on basic literacy, reading and writing. John had to travel to Monze. I had to travel to some place also to implement that project. Just last year, you can. I went to to the US in 2018. Up to now, I still benefit from those opportunities. So in 2022, when I returned from so I'm a citizen of two kingdoms, in short. I'm a citizen original of Zambia, of the UK, and of the
And of the
US.
US.
And the bigger picture from my association with these two big giants is the impact that it has helped me to bring to the community. So in 2022, we applied for a grant with a colleague who was my roommate in the US. Is from Eswatini. So that guy is into IT. He started a project of training inmates in IT skills so that as a way of helping them to reform so that beyond the wars, they can become what? So we wrote a proposal to say he should come and train me in 2022.
Yeah.
So he came. We implemented that project at Mazabuka Correctional Facility, the females facility, and in a Kambala approved school for juvenile offenders. We trained them in computer skills. Then last year, they asked us if you are interested, you can do a reciprocal. And we said, who don't want to be interested?
Yeah, definitely.
So last year, September, I traveled to Eswatini. We went, trained more women at Mawerawera, a state correctional facilities. It's an all-female prison. And because of that, I've become a professional beggar for the common good of the community. On Wednesday next week, we'll be doing a handover at Mwembeshi Remand Prison. Because of that desire and the knowledge that I've gathered, I was able to go out there to start asking for books, to use my profession as a librarian to start up a library at Mwembeshi Remand Prison.
Nice.
So Zikas University came on board. They are donating books that can make the whole library. And my role now will be to use my expertise to set up a library for the inmates. So I'm working hand in hand with one of the correctional officers there, who is also a Mandela Washington Fellow for 20. She went a year after myself in 2019. So this is what these opportunities do. This time around, I get invites to mingle with people that I wouldn't have mingled with if I was still in Chawama. There will be the king's birthday, for instance. They invite high-profile people. I'll be among those at the British High Commission.
Nice.
Just last week, there was a final for the All-English final, which the famous 16 versus 17, Man U versus Tottenham.
Sounds like a Bible verse, but
yes.
Okay.
I was privileged. I watched that from the British High Commission residence. Free drinks, free everything. So that's the those are part of the opportunities that come with this.
So the doors just keep opening and opening.
Yes.
So the key thing was just having that connection from the Washington Fellowship, the 4 essays, and it just keeps opening. So this is it's a big thing.
It's very big, actually. So now, by the way, I'm not the first one to get these opportunities in Zambia. Mandela Washington Fellowship right now, I think we are going close to having 400.
Wow.
Chevening Scholarship started in 1983. It has close to 500 scholars also in Zambia. Globally, we are going to 66,000 for Chevening. But what sets you apart is a big question. When you return from those programs, you return from the UK, you return from the US, you need to remain relevant.
Relevant, yes.
There are people, upon arrival, they achieved the American dream. They've vanished, and they tend not to benefit from some of the opportunities that
Mm.
I've come across myself.
Okay. And I also meant to ask, are these scholarships apportioned to a country? Is Zambia given 5 scholarships and this country, or is it just Commonwealth and you all fight it out as Commonwealth?
Okay, so the British government offers two types of scholarship. There are Commonwealth scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
So Commonwealth are specific for Commonwealth countries.
Yeah.
And mostly the Commonwealth scholarship is mostly, it's academic in nature.
Mm.
For you to get that, you need to be from a Commonwealth country and you go through some organization, some nominating agents.
Yeah.
In Zambia, we have got like FAWEZA, it's
Yes.
a nominating agent. Then we've got this higher education loans. Whilst the Chevening Scholarship is a global award, it has people even from non-Commonwealth countries. And you don't need anyone to be like your nominating agent.
Okay.
You just sit on your computer. If you've
Apply.
got what it has, what they require, you key in your essays, then off. It's you. You are your own. You are your own master.
You're your own master.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you had any piece of advice to give to someone from Zambia, we're going to talk about Zambia, applying for the Chevening, what would it be?
Number one, you should be able to tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how small something you've done for the good of the people, bring it out. Light is meant to illuminate a room and not to darken.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot put on a candle, then you push it under the bed. You won't achieve your objective. So, those small things you are doing to save humanity, put them together and tell your story. That's number one. Number two, believe in yourself. You are created for a purpose and you are unique. Don't benchmark yourself against anyone. You are yourself. Number three, don't commit the mistakes that I did to start applying without looking at the requirements. Understand what the funder wants. Applying for a scholarship is not different from applying for a consultancy job. It's not different from applying for any opportunity that requires you to write something. So be strict with what they want. Then you would have convinced them, because no funder wants to drop their money in a bottomless pit. If a compound boy like me, who only started getting exposure in grade 10 going up, was able to get this, living in an era where there's the internet, almost everyone has a smartphone. Let's grab all the opportunities. We have no excuse. I think that's my word to the people.
And the word is very powerful. Robson, we have come to the end of the interview. It's been great having you, and I've picked up a lot of learnings myself. I hope the viewers have too. So, to our viewers, please remember to like, comment, and share, and give us our experience. Give us your experiences as well. We will, as promised, put in the link, the application in the comments, the application link for you to apply. We hope that you've drawn inspiration from this and it's pushed you one step further to applying. So from all of us at Money and People, it's bye.